All right, hey everybody. In this video, I'm going to talk about two different stocks that I plan to buy positions in or shares in when the market reopens on Tuesday morning. Market is closed on Monday due to MLK Day. So hopefully you guys are going to be able to enjoy a little bit of a longer holiday weekend. But let's kind of get right into it. Here we are on my Facebook beginning traders watch list. The first stock I want to talk about is CleanSpark, ticker symbol CLSK, right at the top there. You can just see by looking at it here, the current stock price is at $31.15. Its last day of trading, it was down 12.77%, which is a pretty big drop. And then after hours or after market, bounced back up a tiny bit to 2.09%. So let's click on CleanSpark. I'll kind of talk to you guys a little bit about the things I think look promising about this stock and anything that might not look great about this stock. But first off, here's kind of a full look at the last day of trading. You can see that the regular hours, the stock opened the market at 35.40, right in that area. It had a pretty immediate drop down rather, and tried to come back up, and then ultimately ended the day down kind of closer to $31.27 by the looks of it. And then after hours, like we mentioned, it came up after hours another 2.09%. As you can see by looking at my screen here, I have an open buy order that I've already put in. I put this in actually at the end of the trading day. I tried to get in on this last minute on Friday, and I just wasn't able to close the position. It just didn't fill rather. So I still have this open buy here. This is something that if you're interested in buying into this stock, you can get right in on this Tuesday morning. I plan to be checking and watching this stock Tuesday morning when the market opens to see what it does. If it starts climbing and it looks like it's going to climb strong, I'm going to move that buy option up to try to catch that stock at the beginning of its climb. There's always a chance that this stock is going to drop right at the beginning of the day, in which case I'm going to pay attention to that too. And I'll watch it, and I think if I think it's going to bottom out somewhere, then I'll buy in there instead. But if I don't catch it in time and I happen to buy at 20 shares at $30.64, as you can see, I have it set there, and it drops, it should sell right at that $30.29. So if I scroll this way, it'll show you right there, my estimated loss would be $7. So, if there's some bad news, that happens over the weekend or something like that, and it decides to drop right away, and, our open buy had filled, hopefully, our risk management there will save us from losing anything more than $7. Again, none of this stuff is fail safe. All right, so some kind of things to note about this particular stock. So CleanSpark is really a company that's in the energy sector. They develop software for kind of clean energy industries. I'll let you guys do a little bit more research onto that. That stuff can be important just to help to decide trends of markets and sectors and industries and that sort of thing. As of right now, clean energy stocks tend to be doing quite well. Potentially for a few reasons. One, with the new administration coming in and having a little bit more of a focus on clean energy, and then in turn with stimulus packages and bills that put money towards those clean energy products and industries, can really help a stock out a lot. So right now, stocks will move based off of news and stimulus and any money that might be going into those industries. And right now, a lot of these solar industries, clean energy industries are on the rise. So that's kind of already an upside to this particular stock. Let's kind of take a look back. You always want to look back on the prior day's charts to see what the stock is doing. So let's just take a quick look back here. Right now we're on the 10-minute chart. We're gonna go back. Let's take a look at the 30-minute chart. So this is helpful. Over the past basically 2 days, if you kind of look down towards the bottom there, it says 114. So it's just kind of showing us the last 2 days of trading. The stock has dropped and relatively significantly. If we go down to the news, and I'll show this to you guys later, there was a report that came out, and it was just kind of one of the bigger research groups, or it can be anything. It can be a bank. They may downgrade the stock. In this particular case, there was a group that decided to put CleanSpark on kind of like a short list, meaning that they expect the stock to go down and they're going to short that stock. And if they do that, if the stock does go down, they make money off that stock going down. This is something that can be very heavily manipulated, and it can affect the stocks. If it's a big enough bank or reporting agency, it likely will affect the stock at least that day. And then again, usually that stock will bounce right back up. So the 30-minute chart here, we can just see it's been down for the past couple of days. Let's look back a little bit further here. Let's go to the 2-hour chart. It's been a little bit up and down, but you can see that it was up at $43.89. So a relatively significant drop down to the $31.15 that it's at right now. Let's look back a little bit further. One thing to kind of note on this chart, and this is where I think it could look promising, is that if you kind of look towards the middle here, I'm going to point this out, but this area here, it looks like we may have some support there. The stock may want to bounce off of that level. So I kind of like then where we have the open buy and the stop sell for that reason. Hopefully the stock won't really want to drop past that. I kind of described the support a lot more in that last video, so I'll let you guys go back to that if you want to learn a little bit more about those support levels. So looking at some of those things, I like the way the chart looks. I think that it's likely to consolidate, and I'll show you what I mean by that when we go back to kind of the current time frame here. So consolidating would be kind of like what we're seeing here. It's leveling off, so it's kind of consolidating. In fact, at first it kind of came up a little bit in this area, and then it's what we call consolidating. It's leveling off, like it doesn't want to keep dropping at this point, and hopefully it's just really going to start making a climb on Tuesday. So a couple of good signs are that this stock just recently sold off. There was a bunch of selling. It dropped a significant amount. Usually with anything, whether it's really high significant buying and the stock jumps up, or vice versa, if the stock has a lot of selling and it drops very low, there's usually a return in the other direction. So there is a good chance that when the market opens on Tuesday, this stock might just shoot up. And it can do a variety of things. It might kind of shoot up and then come back down a little bit, level off. It might drop down again, and it might just climb, and it might climb, honestly, all the way back up to that $43 or $41 that we saw earlier. In which case, you can really have a nice trade if you get in, for example, at this $30.64 like we have set here. So a couple other quick things to note when you're looking at a stock. One of the things I always want to look at is the volume, and that's right up here. I like to see a minimum volume of about 3 million or so. If we click on this drop down, you'll see that the average volume here shows about 2.49. In any case, you never really want to see less than about, I would say 2 million. Anything that's even in these lower million ranges, like 4 million, can be a little bit more volatile. So the higher that number is, the higher in the millions, the more typically the more stable that stock is for trading. Less chance that that stock is going to have to drop drastically up or down, but it can still happen. One way to look at volume that can be helpful is kind of that water drop concept. If you take a water drop and you put it into a glass of water, it can make a pretty decent splash, and it can, raise that glass, a small amount. You take that same drop and you put it in a pool, think of the glass as, let's think of the glass actually here as 4 million. But think of the pool as, 40 million or more. When you put that drop in there, that drop can represent somebody either putting money into that stock or taking money out of that stock. Obviously, that drop is going to make a lot less if you have a volume that's, say, 10 million and then 40 million or 100 million, making, that stock more stable the higher that number goes. All right, the other things that we want to kind of take a look at is, what's happening in the news. So usually just kind of look at the top stories for the day. If you've already been following this stock, you should kind of already know what's happening with it. But I plan to try to buy in on Tuesday, so I want to make sure that nothing kind of crazy has happened over the weekend. And with that being said, one of the members of our Facebook trading group mentioned, hey, I saw a report that there may be an investigation into this company and some of their reportings and stuff like that. It turns out that is true. It was a rather vague report. I see these reports a lot, and the more trading you do, you'll see these come across the screen. A lot of the times, these usually don't have much effect. Or they'll have a minimal effect. Either way, you have to take it seriously. That's why, though, we set our stop losses. And, if it does cause that stock to drop, you should have already protected yourself with your stop loss. That is so key. But we look at some of the top stories here. It just talks about, and these are common titles, hey, these stocks gained today and these stocks dropped today. So those are always to be expected. But is there anything that really stands out? Actually, that report isn't in these top stories here. It may update later, and then that report might end up in this news cycle, but so far that's not in here. You can kind of see the second one down. What makes CleanSpark a strong momentum stock? Should you buy in now? It also depends on who's writing these articles. Is that person buying that stock, and are they planning to keep that stock long? We refer to, are they long or are they short? If they're short, they're hoping that stock goes down because then they're going to make money. And they might honestly post a negative article about that stock in hopes that it'll trigger, people to sell, and it goes down and they make money. So you got to take all these articles with a grain of salt. What kind of news is it? Is it legit news? Is it just somebody's opinion? And then you kind of have to go from there. But here is why CleanSpark probably actually dropped over the past couple of days, because if you look 3 days ago, this article is from a group called Seeking Alpha. They are a large group that just kind of reports on, a lot of opinion pieces really about stocks. Some people like them, some people hate them. Frankly, I think you can learn from nearly any group something. But you can see there they say CleanSpark drops after new short call from Culper Research. Okay, so something like that, or let's say Morgan Stanley downgrades CleanSpark. It's going to cause that stock to drop, whether it's a day or 2 days. It really just kind of depends. But that's ultimately what I believe is what caused this stock to drop. Plus, there was just a huge drop in the market on Friday. It was just a huge down day, and all stocks were really down, including a lot of these energy stocks. Okay, so in any case, I like CleanSpark. I am planning on buying 20 shares of CleanSpark on Tuesday when the market opens. I'm going to watch it, see how it moves. If it starts jumping up, I'm going to try to move my buy-in if I have to. I'm going to move it up with that and try to buy in right away, because I think it might might jump up, and it might jump up, you know, easily a good 5% that day, hopefully more, and we'll make some decent profit in the first day. If it starts dropping down, I might even just cancel my order and you know, buy back in when I see that I think it's kind of bottoming out, or I might try to decide to move that buy down. You can do it either way. You can kind of move those up and down, toggle those up and down, or you could cancel that and then just wait for it to drop to where you want it to and buy in. All right, let's talk about the next stock. Back to our watch list here, and that stock is down towards the bottom here. That's SunPower. Let's click on that. So you can see that SunPower is currently, it ended the normal trading day at $31.96. It came up a little bit after hours, you can see there, and it kind of ended the after hours day at $32.02. Let's kind of go over the same things with this. First off, you're going to want to just, you know, look at the chart, what's happening. Here is our last day of trading and going into after hours, and you can kind of see it's pretty similar to CleanSpark that we were just looking at. They are in the same type of sector, being the energy sector, and a lot of the times those stocks will mirror each other. They'll have the same kind of movement. There's going to be some differences with the prior charts here on SunPower. So let's take a look at those. Let's go back a little further here. Let's look at the 30-minute, and this is going to be pretty telling. So this shows us basically like the last kind of 2 full days of trading, and you can see that it had jumped way up from 31.50 in that area up to you know, probably over $36, well, right at about $36.06 actually. If you look at that wick is what that's called, that thinner line that goes above the bar. So its high point probably at that time was that $36.06. And then the next day, on Friday, with everything else, it just dropped way down. But you can kind of see a couple of things to note here, is these areas of, again, support. So if you look right here, this is an area of support, and if we look right here, we're showing areas of support kind of again in these areas, just again meaning that it looks like the stock you know, should probably hopefully be bouncing off of that support level, and it's not going to want to drop past that. Hopefully it'll stay there, and or it'll just start to kind of go back up, is of course what we really want, assuming we can buy in at about those support levels. If it drops, we're going to keep watching it and, you know, wait for it to form hopefully a new support, and that's where we're going to want to buy in at that point. We're going to take actually kind of a much further look back here, and here, this is what you like to see. I actually already have some positions in SunPower here. I have 20 positions at $24.50. So I already have a nice little position here, but I think the stock is going to continue to do well. And I'll tell you a little bit more why here moving forward throughout this video. But I want to increase my position. So on Tuesday, when the market opens, I'm going to pick up probably at least another 10 shares of SunPower, if not more. But here we can just see over, and this is roughly about 3 months that we're looking at here. It's had a nice steady climb up. All right, that's always good to see. You know, it kind of just tells us that if, you know, this drops for a day or drops for 2 days, it's probably going to resume that climb up. So that's a great sign. That is something you want to see more long term. And I said in the prior video, I like to usually see a minimum of about 3 months of gains, and that's what we see here. So that's a good sign. Let's take a much farther look back here. And this goes back basically about a year. So this is a weekly chart, meaning that each one of those bars, each one of those small bars is 1 week. Okay, so this goes back roughly to November of 2020. I'm sorry, this goes back to November of 2019. You can kind of see the first full date it shows there is January 3rd, 2020. So this goes back even slightly more than a year. but it's had that first part there, a little bit of a decline, but really, since probably April or so, it's really been climbing upwards. So again, that's just kind of a good sign and what we're looking for. Let's go back to just the most recent day. So again, similarly, as we pointed out with CleanSpark, big drop from the day going down, and then kind of showing, it's always hard to think of anything solid after hours or pre-market, because those times tend to be pretty volatile. There's a lot of movement that sometimes happens after hours and pre-market, so you have to take that also for what it is. But it does look like the stock is trying to kind of hold at least at these levels that we're seeing here. It doesn't want to drop much past that. So that's kind of a good sign. Other things that we can kind of look at are other parts of this chart and graph. This RSI is kind of one of the only other ones I really like to look at. The RSI, the best way to think about it is and it stands for Relative Strength Index. It kind of shows how much buying is selling is going into that stock. Basically, if it's up towards 70, that means people are really buying in. So the higher it is, the more strength and growth and buying is happening. The lower that line is, closer to the 30, that just would mean that more people are selling off on that stock. It's considered weaker at that point. So normally when you're buying in, assuming you're looking at the most current day, you kind of want that RSI to be on the low side in most cases. Now, this is just kind of helpful information. You don't have to be using that. It helps, I think, to make your decision, but it's not really the tell-all by any means. Overall, the charting and everything looks pretty good for this, I think, for a buy-in on Tuesday. So now let's look at kind of a couple other things here that we did with the last one. Let's look at the news. What's telling us in the news. I've already kind of looked this stuff, so I'll just tell you guys what some of this is. 10 best solar energy stocks to buy now. I'll tell you SunPower is in that top 10. Stocks that, okay, that's going to mention SunPower, but they don't even mention it in the title. Implied volatility surging for SunPower stock options. Okay, that's a little bit different. Options are a lot of the times volatile. They're definitely for more advanced traders. We will get into options at some point. I do trade options. I trade call options and put options. Again, that's for another video altogether. There is another article, let's see here. Okay, 4 stocks to buy for the clean energy revolution. This was 4 days ago. I'll tell you guys, SunPower is recommended in that stocks to buy. SunPower looks good. And then also, in addition, with the stimulus package, potentially new budgets going into certain sectors and industries, just look good for companies like SunPower, which is a solar power company. Other things to look at here, comments. This is actually just a lot of users information. They expect this to be bullish, so you can see it's green there. You can't take too much into that because anybody can vote on that stuff. I just put a vote in. Not real important to look at. This can be helpful. Again, a lot of these are just people's opinions. Analysts, these people kind of should know what they're doing. I think they do get paid by, Webull and certain companies to, put out their analysis. This one's across the board, basically, as you can see, with most people saying hold. This is based off 16 analysts, which is pretty darn good, actually. You have a few that say strong buy. You have a greater number that say buy. Most say hold. A few that are saying, underperforming, and you have none that are actually saying sell. Here we can kind of see, high, analyst price targets. That can be all across the board. I don't usually take too much consideration into that. It can be helpful, but Not always something that you can take a lot from. Press releases, frankly, I don't look at that stuff a lot. There's not usually a great ton of information there. Financials, always good to take a look at financials. And probably one of the more important things is their balance sheet. And, you know, theirs isn't great. You can kind of see that blue line, if we're looking at the blue or purple, well, I guess in this case, this is more the blue line. That is their profit or assets, and then the more purple or kind of reddish pink one is liabilities. Obviously, you like to see that they are showing more of a profit than loss on that balance sheet. But you know, again, that's not necessarily always the tell-all, but it all is something to take a look at. And then profile here just kind of explains, you know, what that company is about. As I mentioned, they're in the solar industry. I'll let you guys kind of take a closer look at some of that stuff on your own. Back to the chart here. In any case, I like SunPower here. You can see, well, since we're back on this screen, and I mentioned it before, they have a volume of around closer to 10 million. Makes the stock potentially a little bit more stable than CleanSpark, but right now in the energy sector that they're in, they're both doing well. I think they're both pretty safe buys. I'm going to try to get this stock right at where it's around, hopefully $32 when the market opens on Tuesday. So that's kind of the price point I'm looking for. And hopefully we can catch it right at that. Now I'm going to just watch and see what it does. So if it's, you know, dropping, then, you know, we'll wait and let it drop. And then we'll try to pick it up a little bit lower. If it rises, we're going to try to get in on it right away. At least that's my plan. I'm not telling you guys what to do, but that's what I plan to do. If any of you you know, are interested in these, you can buy 1 share and watch it and see what it does. You can buy 10 shares. I plan to buy either 10 or 20 shares of this, most likely. In any case, hopefully you guys like this video. If you're kind of new to the group and you still need to get an account set up, I recommend using Webull. I like it. Robinhood is also another free trading platform. It does not have the same type of graphs and charts and resources, however, as Webull does. I'll be making all these videos with Webull, so if you want something that's a little bit easier to follow along with and you can kind of mirror what I'm doing, again, I recommend Webull. You can get some free stocks by signing up. I'll put a link in the description or somewhere below for some free stocks so you guys can pick up on that. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and have taken something away from this, and there'll be more to come. Thanks for watching.